On this foggy winter day in Kodiak, Alaska, I'm going to show you how to choose the right settings for manual photography. I just talked to you guys for a few minutes without realizing I forgot to hit record on the camera. But anyway, so I'm out here at Fort Abercrombie, foggy morning, setting up some compositions. And one thing I was just telling the camera that wasn't recording here was, one thing I like to do with my landscape photography is just go ahead and just look at the back of the viewfinder or LCD screen and just kind of scan your compositions. And I just found this one and I was really happy with it. So I'm gonna use my L bracket here and then put this camera on the side. And the settings that I'm choosing today for this situation are ISO 100, f8, and 3-second exposure, 0.3 second exposure. I'm gonna shoot this at around 15 millimeters, I like. And the reason I came up with the settings that I have are, when you're doing landscape photography and there's no moving subjects, then you can always set your ISO to 100, because if you have a tripod, you can make the shutter speed whatever you need and the aperture whatever you need. F8 will get pretty much everything sharp in the photo. Not everything in particular, that's kind of not possible, but it'll make the photo look really good. I like how this log kind of just goes up here and then the trees are right up here on the side. Another thing you could do is just kind of change your zoom level a little bit, and I really like it at 15 millimeters. I think that looks good. You could point the camera down, but I don't want to lose the trees up top. I'm pretty happy with what I got. There's other compositions here that I want to show you, so we'll go ahead and explore those. But yeah, that's the big thing for landscape photography, is no moving subjects. Set your ISO to 100. You won't have to worry about noise. You can always adjust your shutter speed and your aperture to whatever you need it to be. So after we talk about landscape for a little bit, later on today, I'm gonna shoot some wildlife, some bald eagles, and show you how I choose my settings for wildlife photography. Another thing you could do is use natural landscapes in your camera as a frame or a vignette in your photos. So I can use the same exact settings because it's the same lighting, and which is pretty nice when you don't have to change anything. And I just really like the little glow of the fog up in these trees up over here. Looks really cool on the back of the camera. One of the things I don't take advantage of enough here are our beautiful green trails here any time of the year, summer or winter. It's rare that we get a lot of snow that this is all whited out, but when it's whited out, it looks cool too, but this is what it typically looks like here. So what I'm gonna do is I found this composition of these trees that I really like. They just go up and you just can't see the top of them. And I really like that. It gives you a sense of scale of how tall the trees are. So I changed the settings up a little bit. With a human subject that's standing still, that knows that they're gonna be photographed, you don't have to do a super fast shutter speed. I'm choosing 1/4 of a second for this. I should hold still long enough for a photo. Just make sure your subject knows to hold still. I'm changing it to f4 because I don't want the ISO to go too high for the landscape. I don't think landscape photos with 1600 ISO is a big deal, but we'll just keep it low. F4 is great for these kind of shots because you're not worried about getting everything in focus. You just want to make sure your subject is sharp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand on this tree over here. So I'm going to pre-focus on that tree, set up a 2 or 10-second camera interval, and just take a shot. And that's a great way to do self-portraits or just landscape photography if you didn't want to have a subject in your photo. I'm going to try 2 seconds. I got a feeling I'm not going to be fast enough to get there, but we'll see. If not, we'll just shoot at 10 seconds. I got nervous by the time I heard it click. Let's just go to 10 seconds. Okay, we'll see if that looked good. I don't know how to pose. I'm not a model. There's nothing I can do about that. Yeah, I don't like me standing like behind the tree. Let me try. I'm gonna try a couple, see what works. So this guy just passed by and I was just looking at the back of the camera and I didn't take a photo, but I kind of watched where he walked along the trail and I saw a spot that actually looked like it might be better for my composition. So that kind of helps seeing it on the back of your camera. And I'm gonna go stand where I think looks good and see what the shot looks like. I opened it up to 15 millimeters too. I pre-focused as well right here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Just walking away from the camera, I definitely look better without looking at the camera. I'm gonna go ahead and find a new location. Hopefully some of the sunrise is hitting the fog and maybe it'll kind of give it a nice orange glow. But if it doesn't, then it is what it is. I really liked walking away from the camera for that shot. I'm just not a beauty model, I guess. So let's go ahead and see where we can get going here. Well, I'm standing on this cliff edge here and it's so foggy I could barely see these rocks out here, which kind of looks cool. It's hard to get a shot because it's hard to line up anything with these cliffs. In the summertime, it's really nice because there's these beautiful loop in here that you can set as a composition. Here, all I see right now are these tree heads and these bushes and it's pretty ugly. So I'm trying to figure out a composition where those are not in the frame without needing to remove them in post-processing. The one composition I did find was using the bushes as a leading line in towards these rocks here. It is something that is kind of off. I like it and I don't like it at the same time, and I can't figure out why I don't like it. There's not really that golden fog that I was hoping for. It's more of this just thick, dense fog, and it's a little gold, but nothing to excite me. A lot brighter, so I switched to F11, and F11 is a great landscape photography number. Anything between F8 and F14, pretty good for landscape photography in general, so you get most things in focus. So F11 with a 1/5 shutter speed and ISO 100 again. Okay, so I switched to handheld, and what I'm gonna do is when I shoot handheld, I like to keep at least 1/100th of a second. I can get away with 1/15th, 1/20th. Oftentimes I do move a little bit. So if you have a steady hand, go ahead, try it out, see what works best for you. 1/100th, I feel pretty safe. Go to F8. We could take off the ND filter, but I think I'm just leaving it on and just compose for it separately. If you want to be professional, take it off. You get a little bit more light in, but to me, it's not that big of a deal. And I can raise this ISO up to 800 and I'll be comfortable with it. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to record kind of what I see so you guys can get an idea of what I'm looking at as well. And this is what it looks like split between these two trees. That looks cool. I might get a photo of that. Let's go ahead and maybe look up a little bit. I like that right there. So I think I can make something work like that. Let's see what else we can get here. Now I can get risky and walk down this little edge here, but you can see this is like really soft mud, so I don't want to risk it too much, but I do like that a lot. Look at that composition between the two trees here, and that's something I can use a tripod for, but if I got really close, I like to get low, and I don't want to mess with the tripod here. So look at that framing. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna take that right now, actually. Just being handheld, I feel a lot more free. Yeah, the ISO got bumped up to 800. No way that you're gonna get upset if you saw a photo in your hand because it was shot at 800 ISO and not 100 ISO. With the way these cameras are, with the way the computers are, with being able to handle the noise, 800 ISO on a modern day camera, no problem at all. Guys, I did promise you some bald eagles, and you can see them right behind me here. They are pretty cool right now. They're just chilling out in the fog. The fog has not lifted. So I have the tripod set up right now, just getting some video. And that was one thing, like I said earlier, that I want to practice this year is using a tripod for video. But other than that, let's show you how to capture some bald eagles. So these ones right here are not moving. So some settings that I would start out with are, if you're a beginner, it does not hurt to use 1/1000th shutter. Me, I could probably shoot 1/100th if they're really not moving. Sometimes you can even shoot an owl 2 seconds. I know there's a lot of professional owl photographers that use 2 to 4 second exposures. They don't move. And that's just something that you have to learn over time. You can't get it right on your first try. But I'm gonna say 1/250th if you're handheld, or maybe even just propped up against a tree or on a tripod. If they're not moving, that should be good. But if you're a beginner, don't hesitate to use 1/1000th just to be sure. And that way, handheld, you can kind of be a little aggressive with your photos, and you'll smooth it out over time. But start with 1/1000th and just to assure yourself some smooth photos. Now these guys are kind of behind the tree branches right now, so I don't think any of them are going to be in focus. I am going to have to switch to handheld and walk up closer to them if I want to get those branches out of the way. Now if they're going to fly off, anything under 1/2500th is going to be blurry. And sometimes you can get the face in focus and sharp, but 100% the wings are going to be blurry. And if you want the sharpest image possible, 1/2500th is what I recommend for bald eagle in flight. You know, I used to make fun of people that use a camera strap, but that's because I thought you had to wear them like this around your neck. And I found this really comfortable way. And what you do is you just sling it around you like this. And now it's off your neck and it just sits there like a gun or something, and you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get close, see what we can do. This guy is acting a little, looks like he's getting ready to fly. I'm gonna step back and see if I get him in focus. The problems I'm having here is I'm shooting at f7.1, so I do have to shoot at 3200 ISO if I want to get a 1/2500 shutter speed. Well, there's a couple things. Where I'm at right now, there's a lot of branches, so I'm not really getting much depth of field. If there was nothing behind these eagles, it wouldn't be too bad for depth of field. You can get away with longer shutter speeds if the animal is not moving. The second it moves, it totally depends what the animal is doing for the shutter speed you want to use, and that's something that you can't look at a chart. You have to just get with practice and eventually figure out. The main thing that I'm trying to tell you guys is when you're photographing wildlife or action, you want to focus on the shutter speed first. Make sure the aperture is always set at its most wide open, and then whatever ISO is the last choice I'll make. And honestly, there are photographers that shoot up to 12,000, 25,000 ISO, and it works for them. You know, I think one thing I'm gonna do is go find a place to photograph the dogs. And that way, I feel like a lot of people, if you can photograph a dog, you can photograph a mammal, and eventually photograph some birds in flight. So let's go photograph my dog somewhere, get them out and run and play and whatnot. And that'll be my final place and get this video done. On the way out here, I spotted some emperor geese and I took this photo. All right, well, I'm at my final spot here and I got my trusty 70-200 lens on. It's a perfect sports and just lens to photograph your dogs running around. I'm gonna set up the settings here. We'll do 1/1000th. And then we'll do f2.8 because that's what this lens is known for. And one thing that I'll do to just test the ISO is I'll just point it at a subject And looks like we can get around with 400 ISO. So let's go ahead and get some shots and see how it does. One thing I love about the R5 and just modern day cameras are the fact that it has built-in IAF, or at least animal tracking. So all I gotta do is just hold the button that I have set here that does the eye tracking, and works pretty good job. So let's go ahead and get some shots of the dogs. Make sure 1/1000th is a good shutter speed. All right, well, I just wanted to give you guys a behind the scenes on how I expose my images and what I favor. And so basically what it is if you're using a tripod and there's no moving subjects, set the ISO to 100, and then you can put your shutter speed and aperture to where you want. With sports and wildlife, I work backwards. I set my shutter speed where I want, and then I'll adjust my ISO. I guess you could technically say you could pick your aperture first if you know you want f8 landscape, or if you know you're going to shoot f2.8 for action on your dogs. So either thing works. Just know that in action shots, shutter speed's important. In landscape, it's not that important, but you can be creative with it in your own way. In the next video, we're going to do a Lightroom tutorial, importing, basic editing, and exporting in high quality. If you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you missed the last one, check this video right here. It's all about high ISO, and is it really important in your photography? You'd be surprised in modern day cameras, it's not that big of a deal. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.